If you plan to make your own figures or if you need to include labels in a figure, make sure that you use color logically. The colors you select need to work well together, and there are online resources like the one shown here which have color palettes that you can adopt. And for each of these color palettes, these sites also provide the hex color code as well as the RGB color codes that you can input into PowerPoint so that you can get that exact same color. However, keep in mind that the color palette you select should be professional and also easy on the eyes. Colors can also be used to convey meaning and to elicit different responses from the audience. So it's important that you keep this in mind when selecting different colors. Colors with a blue hue are perceived as cold, while those with a reddish hue are perceived as warm. For example, in this map, the cooler temperatures are shown in violet and blue tones, while the warmer temperatures are shown in yellow, orange, and red tones. Now, it bears mentioning at this point that you need to keep in mind how the color is going to look against the background that you select. As you can see, red does not work well in this background. You can also use color to indicate more or less emphasis, so a bright color can be used to emphasize a word, while a muted color can be used as a way to suggest decreased emphasis, amount, or importance. And it can also be used to make points that you are no longer discussing fade into the background. Now, although you can use these muted colors for some purposes, if you need the text to be clearly seen by the audience, be careful that the colors that you select have enough contrast against the background, or you may end up with text that is invisible. Finally, if meaning is attached to the colors that you're using, remember that red-green color blindness is actually quite common. So if the audience needs to be able to distinguish between the two different colors in a figure, it is a good idea to stay away from pairing red with green. Unfortunately, antibody staining relies heavily on these two colors. So sometimes it'll be difficult not to use them together. However, whenever possible, if you need the audience to distinguish between two colors, do not pair red with green. So what happens when you ignore these guidelines and instead you rely on lots of text and using color haphazardly? You can end up with something like this, a slide that is cluttered, that has figures that are difficult to understand, text that is small, and color that does not look well against the background. So remember, use text sparingly, pay attention to the use of color, and use figures that are simple and that are easy to understand.